Hello. Welcome to Beer Ride Back, the Lounge Beer Podcast. Today,
we're doing the cigar beer episode. A couple of beers that we think are going to go well with a cigar. Pull up the lounge chair and put your feet up and have a bear with us.
Yeah, you need to have a large dog sitting at your feet in our smoking jacket.
Yeah, fireplace, bear skin rug.
Yeah, in the library. What are we starting off with, Nick?
We're starting off with Santa's Little Helper from Port Brewing Company.
All right. Jeremy's having a rough time with his cigar. This is our first outdoor episode of the lounge due to the smoke. And as such, you're going to hear a little bit of wind noise, and we're going to be struggling with a lighter for the next 2 hours. Hope you'll join us.
By struggling?
Yeah. With or without a lighter.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah. All right. Got our first beer all lined up here.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
It's got a really sweet smell with it saying cocoa and coffee on the bottle. I was expecting more bitterness, but that tastes pretty sweet too.
I agree. It's nice. It's not too upfront and in your face. It's a little more on the subtle side. A good beer to start off with, I think.
Yeah, it's sort of got that like little bit of a creamy texture to it that I'm really enjoying. It's really refreshing, actually. The sort of how dry a cigar makes, at least my mouth, all the time. I don't know about
you. Are smoking the driest cigar in the land.
I did buy this like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And then remembered I had one, so I brought it to this episode.
So, what are you smoking, Jeremy? It's an Arturo Fuente?
Something like that.
I think he's just smoking a dry piece of wood.
Yeah.
I don't think there's actually any tobacco in that cigar. It's just a twig that he found in the woods.
Yeah. I originally bought this as like a Christmas gift because Magaz is closing. I was like, oh, well, my dad's not really that big into cigars, so I kind of bought it for myself, actually.
Right.
Yeah. He only smokes like a cigar like once in a blue moon.
Right.
And this probably wasn't in up his alley with this giant, like, almost a foot-long cigar or something.
It's Clinton size, for sure. Do you think he smokes his cigars with a blue moon and in a blue moon? Or
probably not. I don't think he drinks blue moon at all.
Okay. All right, well.
I like him already.
Yeah, a man of taste.
Nick and I are having a Oliva Series G.
Or standard cigar. This is like pretty much whenever we have a cigar, this is the one that we choose. Relatively available everywhere that has good cigars.
Tastes good, and it's like $8 for a cigar, for a big cigar. So it's a pretty good value.
What do you think is the beer equivalent of like quality to ubiquity?
I would say a little. My instinct was all day, but I would put this a little higher quality than an all day even.
It's more like a CBS.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as high as a CBS.
Well, so the thing I think of a CBS is that it's very expensive, but it's very good to accompany it. And I would consider an Oliva to be like, it's not the best cigar in the world, but it's very good for the price. Like it's a good price point. So I'm thinking like Stone or something. I don't know. Arrogant Bastard or something. Not as offensive flavor. So back to the beer. Do you guys get like a little, I want to say raisin, but I can't really put my finger on raisin, but there's like a little fruity note in it. And there's an F-35 taking off from the fucking airport.
We didn't tell you, but we're actually doing all of these podcasts in the air traffic control tower of the local military base.
Yeah. Go Marines.
Are we the few? We may be the proud.
Yeah.
We're certainly not the Marines. I kind of get the raisiny note.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe. I haven't had a raisin in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a fruity, but like a very like dried out kind of tart flavor there.
Right.
Yeah.
Little sweet, little fruity.
Mm-hmm.
That raisin note is like you're dead on there.
This is like one of the first beers. I hear that periodically with dark beers, and I've never gotten it before. And this, I don't know if it's because the cigar is kind of muting some of the darker chocolatey flavors, but this is the first time I've had that really that pronounced.
Right.
I really like that.
I like the raisiny note because it's not like you're having a bourbon barrel aged beer, but it's also not like the what was that English stout that we had?
The potato stout?
The Samuel Smith.
The Samuel Smith. It's not as muted, quite as muted as that. It's got a little bit of flavor, so this is good. I'd give this around like a 70, maybe.
I was thinking 70.
Sean, are you going to be the asshole?
Oh man, I was thinking about a 65. I think I like 65. Yeah, I was kind of nervous with it being Santa's Little Helper. I thought it was going to be like a Christmas themed beer, and as such, it was going to be like stale or old or something.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty good. Port Brewing Company. I'm not familiar with Port Brewing Company.
Neither am I. So far, they're 1 for 1 though. So, I do not think this is the episode to start chugging early. I'm just going to let you know.
We've got some big ones coming up.
Oh, yeah.
At least we know it though.
Yeah.
Unlike with Evil Twin.
What is this, like 11, 12? Double that.
We have some close to that today, but not quite as large.
Did you get that one going yet?
Yeah, it's what I did is just held the lighter under it for a solid 20 seconds, and then
you got to torch it. When I first got into smoking cigars, I read online that you are not supposed to burn the end, and that you're supposed to keep the lighter on it for as little as possible.
Oh,
which resulted in me being as ginger as possible with a cigar and never getting it lit correctly. And then one day I just decided oh fuck it, I'm just gonna just burn it, and then it smoked fine for the whole rest of the time. And I go, oh, okay, so that's that's all I had to do.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd read somewhere that you're supposed to kind of roast the end or something along those lines, preheat it or something.
Who fucking knows?
I don't know. It's what a weird industry.
People get no kidding. It's there's such a pretension about smoking cigars and pipes.
But beer, you just you pour it and then you drink it.
Beer goes in your mouth.
Wow, this is some thrilling conversation I just came back to. Beer goes in your mouth. Really, guys? Are we sure about that? Did we double-check that number?
Fuck you, Nick.
It was out of context, but it was funny. It was funny to me.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to shut on your parade or anything here as bartender, but
it's
my bar tonight. I can do whatever I want.
Get the fuck out of my bar. I was referencing that video, that video making fun of the people who spend more time smelling their beer than they do tasting it. Not that you can't shit on me. I mean, metaphorically anyway.
Next up, we've got Founders Dank Wood, which is a red Imperial India Pale Ale.
Barrel aged?
Aged in bourbon barrels.
Okay, because you can smell it.
Yeah.
It's all
Oh,
there.
really? all the bourbon?
Yeah. Gents.
Okay. Cheers.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
The smell is kind of belies the flavor, in my opinion. It's like, I don't know, I put my nose to the glass and it's a little kind of rosy, I guess, or
It is. It's I get a big bourbon note first, and then I get this weird floral.
Yeah.
It's flowery scent. And there's some bourbon in the flavor, but not nearly as big as it smells.
There's sort of a really tart kind of bitter feeling to this one. Kind of fitting with the whole the Dankwood name.
Yeah.
It smells like being outside at night, at a city you haven't been in.
Okay.
And it's you're on vacation or something, and it's this is very highly subjective poetic description of a beer. Just
the sand on the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah.
This beer tastes like walking to a liquor store in the first time you've been to a city, or you're leave the hotel room to go get a beer.
Yeah. Somewhere more tropical than
okay.
maybe Phoenix,
Going
Arizona.
to Florida.
Yeah, or Cuba or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm smoking a cigar. But yeah, and then you taste it, and it's just a kind of pale.
You guys get a vanilla?
A little bit. I really like it with a cigar.
Yeah.
I think that the other beer, now in comparison to this, I think the other beer kind of, maybe I shouldn't have given it a 70. I think overall it's a 70. I think I am less stoked about it now with the cigar because this beer has something more hoppy and red about it that cuts through the smokiness of the cigar.
Yeah.
But it doesn't detract, it just accentuates, right?
Right.
Like, it's two different flavors that you can go back and forth between that are similar enough that they don't work against each other, I think.
I think it's easy for a beer to overpower a cigar or for the cigar to just take all the guts out of the beer. And this does a good job of being flavorful without being overpowering, and the flavor it has isn't worse because of the smoke. I would even say I think I would like this less without the cigar. I think the cigar is doing this some favors.
Yeah. I think without the cigar, I'd probably go down to a 65. With the cigar, it feels like a 70.
I agree with that.
I'm happy with a 70. I think the theme of the night is going to be all of our ratings are going to be biased.
Yeah.
For, one way or the other because of the cigar. And I think like with the wings episode, it was easy to go like, well, this is good with wings, but I think realistically it's whatever. In this case, the cigar is such an abrasive flavor on your tongue that I think we're going to have a really hard time having objective ratings. So I think tonight just needs to be just rate it with the cigar.
Throw caution to the wind.
We need to rate them with an asterisk in Beer Advocate or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I was sort of thinking about that. Are we going to do that sort of thing again with the wings? Because it's the founder's name, if anything, I am disappointed with this beer. It's good, but I don't think it does anything particularly special like their breakfast stout or a KBS.
I didn't really pick up on that tart note so much, Jeremy, but now the deeper into this beer I get, the more I pick up on that. It's almost like a cherry kind of flavor. A little hint of it.
I let the cigar kind of settle with me, and then went in for another drink. And that's like radically different than the first one I had. The first sip I had out of this glass, pretty good, solid 70 with the cigar.
Yeah, it really does balance it out very well.
When I was making up this 6-pack, it's like hard not to just get dark beers for a cigar. It kind of feels like it goes with the territory. So I was trying to throw in a couple little curveballs, and I think this was good.
I understand sort of the, I guess like the archetypal like dark beer goes with cigar stereotype. I really enjoy like sort of the lighter or more fruity.
Sure, yeah.
Like, this is as you're saying, as a curveball, like this is like more. As an experience, better. Because I feel like a lot of people, and probably myself included, like cigar and dark beer, like that is a little too overwhelming.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
Well, we got that. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
Oh man.
If you're not overwhelmed yet, by God, you will be. I gotta slow down. I almost got smaller cigars. I almost got like.
You're gonna need that other Oliva that we have.
I might. I'm burning through this.
You gotta chill. I sort of am just I'm relighting after every beer, and then just sort of taking a few puffs in between to kind of get the character change.
Yeah, I almost got smaller ones because I was like, man, like these cigars last forever, and we're gonna be talking in between. We're never gonna get through these. But then I just find myself like as you guys are talking, I'm just constantly going between the two.
Me, I got like 35 miles left. Please, crack open the second one.
Jeremy's going to be doing our next episode with a cigar because he's still going to be smoking that one.
Maybe Monica Lewinsky will join us in the next episode.
The smoke and bottle that we have talked about before, Magaz from Flagstaff, that is now closed, unfortunately.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. They used to... they had a couple of hand-rolled cigars that they had. One of them was called the Churchill, and it was this just enormous cigar. It was the biggest cigar I'd ever seen in my life. Until I looked in the other cabinet or in the other humidor and saw the Clinton, which was like, I shit you not, it's the diameter of a $50 and like 8 inches long. That was the biggest cigar I'd ever seen in my life.
It was massive.
I never got one because I never had.
Well, who would? Right.
I never had 4 consecutive days that I could just sit outside smoking a cigar. So,
who would have time or the need or the want to have a cigar that big.
Oh, and
It
it was
just
like
is
unbranded.
insane.
It was like their
In-house.
in-house. Like I can't imagine they were hand-roll. They were doing it themselves, but
Maybe
there they were.
outsourced it to somebody.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of it didn't have like a wrapper, like a label on it, so I was kind of wary of like, is this just going to be like the biggest cigar made out of like the shittiest tobacco leaves, and I'm gonna get 6 inches into this and go, I don't know if I like this, and then have another 2 feet to go.
I want to point out that this is we're shooting this episode at about 7:30. This is the perfect temperature. It's the perfect night to have a smoke and a beer.
Yeah.
This is the first like pretty warm night that we've had all season. We picked a good weekend to shoot this one on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's got to be a nice cool night out because you're gonna have a big heavy beer with the alcohol's gonna warm you up, and then.
But it can't. Yeah.
And then
Can't be too. It shouldn't be too cold because
Right.
then you're not going to want to. If I'm frigid, the cigar is just going to freeze.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible to light.
There's something very nice about having a cigar out in the snow.
Mm.
Oh.
I think there's also something very nice about having a cigar when you don't need 3 jackets.
Yeah.
I like having half of my clothes not smelling like cigar leaves the next day.
Started wondering if all of our equipment is going to smell like cigar
Yeah.
now after this episode.
Like breathing into the mics and stuff.
In future episodes, you can get a whiff off of your your windscreen, and you're going to be like, I don't know about that.
The next 2 episodes are gonna also include the cigar
Yeah.
plus beer quotient.
We're going to have a guest on in like 6 episodes. And did you guys smoke?
Why, yes, we do.
Yeah.
We get these things called the Clinton. You're lagging behind, Sean.
Every time, except
When you're not.
the ones.
It's one of those nights.
I wonder if it was me standing up behind the bar that made me drink faster.
The twice that I have bartended before this, when I was not sitting down, unlike tonight, I think I drank faster
Yeah.
than when you're sitting down. Something to do with being more relaxed.
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna like listen to this one after we edit it and be like, man, we were really slow.
And you can hear that lighter like
80 times. Yeah. And the cars and
the wind and the fucking dogs and and the fighter jets
Jets.
taking off from the Marine base.
yeah. Well, it's funny. You have a what is it?
My F-22 lighter.
Yeah.
I really don't. I feel like most people who buy a lighter with a fighter jet on it are like in the military or know someone in the military or have some like I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like planes, so I feel like people are gonna see this and be like, "This guy's like."
What a redneck, but
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, just like planes are cool.
Yeah.
I was trying to leave a butt on this to
Jeez.
insulate it.
Yeah.
I just bumped it off.
I talked about it off podcast a lot, but I've never fully understood the properties of nicotine. And like some people like, oh, it gives you a buzz. But like for me, like really like slows me down. I don't know.
Well, so that's the thing is people often tout it as like helps you relax, helps you wind down.
Okay.
I don't really get a big nicotine hit through most of a cigar until I'm at the very end. And then the last couple puffs, I just feel like I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I take it easy towards the end of the cigar.
Yeah, I'm feeling that way. I'm only like 30% through this one or something, but that's usually like 50% of another one. So.
Right.
What do we got, Nick?
Next up, we have Bulletproof, which is a bourbon barrel-aged stout from Odell, part of their Cellar series.
We haven't had
From
enough
2018.
Odell beers.
I don't think we've had anything past the first episode when we had their IPA.
We had their IPA.
We had their IPA.
Oh.
Yeah. From the first episode when we did beers from like the big breweries.
All right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think we rated that one too high either. I think
Yeah.
it was kind of middle of the pack.
Which is funny because I find myself, I guess I don't see Odell beers that often, but it seems like almost always I enjoy them. They're kind of, I place them in a similar category to Deschutes where it's like a pretty consistent high and they're like kind of one of the bigger brewers, but they know what they're about, I don't know.
90 shilling is really good.
90 shilling is great. That was one of my
Excellent.
first beers that I got in a bar.
Oh.
That and Moose Drool from Big Sky out
Okay.
of Montana.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Cheers.
Cheers. I know we're kind of navigating by starlight here. 'Cause it's like 7
Yeah, we are. It's a little dark out
get
now.
your sextant out.
But I noticed that was sort of like the most,
Pitch black.
pitch black and the nice like coffee brown head. But it's
Ooh.
there's also like 3 lumens total
Yeah.
out here. So
That's good. That is.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly what I want in a bourbon barrel aged beer.
yeah, this tastes pretty on the money. Out of when I think dark bourbon aged bourbon barrel. Yeah.
I really dislike bourbon, but I really like. I love bourbon until you swallow bourbon,
Yeah.
and then I hate it. But the thing I like about bourbon barrel aged beers is they have that front end, that like kind of sweet that flavor, and then it's gone. And this does it perfectly. It's not so subtle that you can't taste it. It's not so in your face that that's all you taste. But this is like a really good. That's perfect.
True to what you were saying about Odell, that pretty much everything that you have from them is kind of on the money. This is pretty on the money.
Yeah,
It's a good dark beer.
it's good beer.
Yeah.
Good bourbon flavor.
Oh yeah.
Good stout flavor.
It's clean.
That's a really good descriptor.
Yeah. There's not 100 things going on in this beer.
It's not muddled. There's
Yeah.
nothing extra going on.
Although I feel like it does kind of step into that like earthy, mossy, muddy descriptor that
Sure.
we've given dark beers before, but not like it just kind of
Just barely. Just
dips
like
its toe in it.
yeah, exactly.
It-
There's a
it's-
hint of it without it being like one of those beers.
yeah,
right.
yeah. And then now there's a
And then now the Cessna comes. This is a no-fly zone, sir.
excuse me, we're doing a beer podcast. And
Mayday, mayday. SRAMs incoming.
Roger, Richard, what's your vector? Vector?
I'm glad you nailed that. Because I would have remembered like half of that joke. And then like, what's your Roger, Victor?
man.
Excellent movie. This is, I agree that it's just the toe dip into like that mossy flavor. It's
not-
really good.
not like syrupy sweet like a milk
No,
stout,
no.
and not like muddy like some of those other stouts that we're having. It's not a big coffee flavor. It's not a big chocolate flavor. It's just kind of a stout,
Yeah.
and then this like good clean hit of the bourbon flavor.
Oh, did we rate the last one?
We did.
Oh, what?
70s all the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're kind of all hitting like the
Okay.
70s range.
This is I think I'd give this one a 75.
Exactly what I was going to say, Jeremy.
I'll say
wow.
a 70 to be a dick.
Fuck you. Why can't we just all agree for once?
We did last time.
That's I feel like that's appropriate given our sort of like approach to life and
yeah.
beer.
That's really good.
And fantastic with a cigar.
Right.
That's
exactly.
perfect.
Hmm.
I feel like Scotch and whiskey and bourbon are kind of the cigar beverages, and not liking. You know what's funny is we got 3 lighters, so we could all have one, so we're not passing them back and forth, and somehow I end up with all 3 of them.
Here, I need one.
As someone who doesn't like whiskey, I like a beer with some whiskey flavor in it. Again, just because I like that little front end of whiskey, and particularly bourbon. This is a fantastic cigar beer.
I agree. Like we were talking about with the last one, the Dank wood, it has enough to cut through the smoky, very aggressive upfront flavor of a cigar that, not in the same way that the other beer did, but it accomplishes the same task.
Yeah. Although I think for me there's less cut through and more complement. Yeah.
Rather than contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's where I have a hard time rating them differently from each other. Is to me, they are different flavors, but I think they, to me, kind of accomplish the same end, just in different ways. Where one is, I think the last one was a nice back and forth flavor. It was like a little different from the cigar. This, I feel like, fits perfectly and is good back, almost speaking loosely, it's almost indistinguishable from the cigar flavor. It's kind of it fits very cleanly with the cigar.
Yeah.
But the last one was kind of a contrast. It was kind of a difference.
The one thing I will say about Odell is that I feel like every single kind of... So this is a cellar series. Their cellar series is really good. We've had a sour from that before.
The Onolicious?
Yeah.
Onolicious was fan-fucking-tastic.
I wish that they could do this well with beer that's not kind of this special,
right?
Once a year one-offs.
Regular releases.
But, oh well. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Damn, they only make 6 of these. Cellar, maybe they don't make 6 of them. I guess, I don't know how many beers are in their cellar age series, but
I don't think they make too many of them a year.
They also make
it's seasonal.
Yeah, they make the Freak, Friek.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what that is. I think it's a fruit something, but I don't know. I don't think it's a sour, but I don't know what it is.
It might be a Berliner.
I don't think it's a sour. I think it's like a fruit pale, or I don't know. I don't want to be wrong and have all 6 listeners call me out on it.
That's right. Cigar is really good.
That's a good one. Oliva knows what's up.
Mine's it's pretty good. It's kind of old. So old the wrapping is kind of chafed off.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Got sunburned.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Sean's in the lead here now.
Right.
Oh God. Catch up.
Everyone chug.
Oh, I win.
Nick has done it.
I'm enjoying mine.
Your reward is getting the next beer.
To be fair, if I was last,
you would still get the next beer.
My punishment would be getting the next beer. So,
and if you were middle, me and Jeremy's reward and punishment would be not getting the next beer.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this seems like a very contemplative episode.
Which is very fitting, right? For when you have a cigar and a beer, it feels like you just want to Me and Kevin used to always... I would go to his apartment, and we would go sit out on his balcony. And we didn't spend the whole time talking. It was just kind of just sit and just be a part of the universe for a moment without getting too philosophical. It was kind of just a experience to be there. Mm-hmm. That's what I like about having a cigar. Is just... I told my mom one time that I like to have a cigar out on my porch.
What?
I was just talking about my mom.
Well, no, that's her response. To
yeah. Well, I was like, it's nice because it gives me an excuse to go sit out on my porch and sit outside for a while and just enjoy the world. And she goes, well, you can't do that without a cigar? And I was like, I bet somebody could. I bet I could, but I don't. If I don't have a cigar, I don't have a reason to go sit outside, and that just gives me the impetus to go sit out in the cold for an hour. I
feel like the cigar is sort of, it's a mindless task, and I don't mean that mean, in a mean way. It's just you have something in your hands and you're doing a thing. It's sort of like whittling a stick.
Yeah,
just for no reason other than to do it. And
it is not productive on its own, but it's a thing that just
inspires.
It's an accessory to it's been a while since I took a puff off of this cigar, and I'll say that last sip of that beer was a little more aggressive. Oh, a little bigger.
Because you didn't have the smoky flavor in your mouth.
People online who are big into beer reviewing talk about how you shouldn't taste beer. You shouldn't try to identify flavors in beer.
Okay.
Even if somebody in the room is wearing a strong perfume, you shouldn't try to taste beer because that will affect your taste. And so I think they would have a fucking conniption fit
if they heard this right now.
Yeah, if they heard we were trying to taste beer with a cigar. But
who are these people?
Assholes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I figured. But...
Which leads me to my next point. Fuck them.
Well, I think that's that's it's a very purist way to approach it, and
which is fine.
For me, beer has always kind of been a part of another experience, and I think we've had a conversation before about what time of day it is, what time of year,
exactly.
who are you with, those all affect beer in radically but still subjective ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I think.
Color here.
What were we saying?
I don't remember. It wasn't important.
All right.
Yeah.
On to the next beer.
Cheers.
Next up, we've got the Calling IPA, which is a double IPA from Boulevard. This is sort of a mix-up on the dark beer thing for the cigars. Cheers.
Gentlemen, cheers.
It smelled so good. I took a sip before we said cheers.
I'm going into this with a bias because I fucking love this
Yeah,
beer.
this is amazing.
This is very good. Now I got to light my cigar again
Yeah,
and kind of temper it. This is really good double IPA.
It's not much of a double. It's kind of a. Now this lighter is not the best either.
Okay. It's also for someone who is about child size. This is a child size lighter.
This is an almost Tower Station-esque IPA.
I was thinking the same
in that
thing.
it's very fruity. It's got a very tropical hop flavor without it being like a mango IPA or something.
Yeah.
It's just got that background of fruity hop flavor.
Mhm.
I fucking love this beer.
I will say that I don't care for it that much with a cigar.
Right. We've had better
Yeah.
cigar beers.
I think that it's too much of a different thing. It's like switching. It's sort of like in Mario Kart,
Here we
where-
go.
Yeah.
What? Here we go.
Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to this. Please.
Like in the new maps where there's, there's like the belts that go in one direction and then the other, and they sort of switch back and forth.
Yeah.
Every
One
lap.
is green, it goes forward, and one is the red that goes back, right? And one helps you and moves you along faster than you were moving before, and the other hinders
Impedes you.
Right. And this is a good beer, but it's the red track. It's moving you backwards from the flavor that the cigar is
Sure.
giving.
Oh.
Whereas the other beers are the green track that
I think it's blue,
aid.
but continue.
Okay, well, whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh
though,
yeah,
right?
100%. So this is, I think Dank Wood was good because it had a contrast between the cigar and the beer.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this takes that to the extreme. This goes too far the other direction,
Yeah.
and this is why I think darker beers are more associated with cigars. It's
Yeah.
because it's less of this jarring.
I will say, I haven't been able to light mine in a while, just given our state of affairs. But this is really doing it for me. I know that I don't have the cigar really flavor to contrast it with, but rating it on its own, wow, this is
Fantastic.
yeah, that sort of Tower Station feel. That's just super refreshing.
I had a couple of these in Zion, or I had a couple of these in Fredonia, Arizona.
Oh, at that bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one. I had one of these beers a long time ago with a cigar, which is kind of why I threw it in this pack. It's because
Oh, wow.
the first time I had this beer was with a cigar.
Okay.
And I went to this bar and saw it for the first time since then and grabbed one, and it was so good. I had a second one, which I think is a compliment to the beer. I don't often have a second of a particular beer at a bar. I like to try to explore the menu and see what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a beer. This is a great IPA.
You're right. It does hit sort of all the notes that a Tower Station does. And for that reason, I'm sort of waffling between a 75 and an 80.
I feel
For
the
this
same.
beer.
I had the same thought.
No, I think we should, not that you're not, but I think we should rate this with the cigar in mind, since that's how we're doing all the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the cigar in mind,
It is a...
I'd call this a 65.
Oh.
This is the first beer that I feel like I like it significantly less because I am having a cigar. And if I didn't have a cigar, I would like it way more.
So the asterisk in our rating is not, this is a cigar rating. This is a rating as approximately as we could with a cigar. And this is not our, how would you like this with a cigar? This is the best I can rate it, the most accurately I can rate it while smoking a cigar.
Well, go ahead. Jimmy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although I feel like it is a little ruins the point of the episode. I've sort of I still want to keep this within like the cigar beer like classification, because I feel like, you know, to me, like, making this episode was to find kind of make a roadmap, or I guess that's not the right word, but like sort of like an entry level like guide to be like, hey, what works with a cigar or not. And I feel like I would totally play this beer right now because it is not the best with a cigar. But then I also remember, like, we kind of have to like keep up like the universal application of a beer.
Maybe our discussion is how you should rate these yourselves for getting a beer with a cigar, but our ratings are still as
objective.
Unbiased.
Yeah,
objective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Our ratings are still as objective as possible.
That's sort of what we did with the wing beers. Is that when we finished the 6-pack, we went back and made a whole list of how we would rate them in terms of with wings. And we each of us went back and told everybody what our top 2 beers would be with the wings. Yeah. And we can do that today.
I like that.
Our official rating should be, I think, still, you know, even though this beer wasn't that great with the cigar, we shouldn't dock it 20 points based off of the fact that we were having a cigar at the time.
Sure.
I will say that I am not as opposed to this with a cigar, because it kind of, to me, like, the flavors mix in such a way that it does remind me of, I don't know, like playing pool or something
Okay.
like when I combine the two, it's almost felty, if that makes any sense at all. But it's like it's like the
That's good.
The sweet, fruity. Well, I guess it's not sweet, but it is like fruity and pale part of this beer. Kind of goes well with the like very like the smoky, like dry nature of a cigar. Again, like the other ones complement a cigar much better, but like the more contrast, the better, I guess, because I really like juxtaposing the two. Like, I really enjoyed the what was it, the Dankwood?
Yeah.
And this is doing more juxtaposition for me to a much better degree.
Yep.
But I might have weird taste buds, so
That's a good episode idea, is pool hall beers.
Yeah.
Beers that you would have in the context of playing pool.
Okay.
Sitting in a smoky dive bar, having a beer.
Yeah. I would say outside of the context of a cigar, I would give this an 80.
Yeah. Same.
75, because I'm an asshole.
But
I feel like there's going to be like a pretty consistent, like we're going to do 100 episodes of this podcast, and there's going to be like a statistically significant trend of me rating 5 less than you guys.
Well,
until like once in a while, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you're the most like
rude.
No. But you're the most like we had this long discussion before about like, oh, people rate too high, and like, you know, they're just like throwing around 75 and 80 because they don't want to like offend other people who might put it at a 90 or something like that. But like, you know, you're really taking the like the scale to it, like what it actually means. I think I am falling into this trap of, oh, like, you know, just give everything a 70 or an 80 kind of thing, like, because
oh no, this beer is an 80.
I mean, like,
I don't care what Sean says. This beer is an 80.
What I'm getting at is we gave Tower Station an 80. I think this is 5 points less than a Tower Station.
Okay. I think this is equal to a Tower Station.
There's like one thing, and I don't know what it is, but there's like one note to this that is just missing slightly. Okay. Where if I had the choice between the two, I'd take a Tower Station every time.
Now, is that because you've had a Tower Station 20 times before and have an emotional attachment to that beer?
Could be. I also think perhaps I'm harder on Tower Station because I've had it 20 times, where it's like, now I drink it and it doesn't pull any punches. I know exactly what I'm getting. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah.
I'm a human.
That's fair. That's why we have 3 people on the podcast to kind of balance out between biases, right?
It wouldn't be as interesting if we all agreed with each other.
Well, yeah, sort of like if it was you and Sean it would be, you'd have an 80 and a 60.
Yeah.
And if it were...
And you're that nice middle ground. You're not so much of a dick, but you're not so generous either.
Yeah.
Kind of right in the middle.
I would agree with you that is a beer that I would get twice at a bar.
Yeah.
Given even a full tap list.
Yeah.
If I had this once and I had one other beer that I was like, kind of iffy on, I'd go back to this.
Yeah. At least the second time.
Yeah.
Then go on.
All right, next up we have, going back to an old favorite, an Arizona favorite, Tombstone's Imperial Stout with coffee. This is a 10.5% ABV stout from them. So cheers.
Cheers.
I don't know if it's because I just had a glass of water, but that's a hell of a beer.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking flavor.
Big flavor, but I will say it kind of goes down really smooth. Like the texture, it kind of has that nitro-y
Right.
kind of feel. Yeah, I don't know. It does, we're on our fifth one now, right?
Yeah.
So, maybe that my perceptions of things are changing, but it does feel a little the same as the other stout we had recently that we were like, wow, that's a really good stereotypical stout.
The Bullproof from Odell.
Yeah. As much as I enjoyed that, this one feels like unfortunately it's come after it, so I can't give it like that great of an objective rating, but it does feel like the same.
I will say that I think this is worse than that. I think this has a muddier flavor. I think there's no coffee in this. It's a big flavor. It is an Imperial Stout. It hides the 10.5% well, but at the same time doesn't really do anything particularly right.
Oh.
It's kind of just there. I don't. It goes well with a cigar because it's a really high ABV dark beer, but it doesn't really do anything for me.
It does. It does have the less like the stepping slightly into the mossy, the more like refined or subtle nature of the other one. Yeah, it does. It is doing less for me.
Without the cigar, this was like a very big, bold flavor. With the cigar, I actually almost find it bland. There's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
It just disappears off your tongue. Even without the cigar, I feel like it's just
gone.
Poof. It's just like smoke. It just disappears. There's nothing. There's no ending to it. With the Bullproof from Odell, there's like a kind of sharp bourbony finish.
The beginning, middle, and end.
I'm seeing that.
This is nothing.
Yeah, there is little aftertaste.
Right.
I would put it under the Odell.
Really doesn't do anything special. I'm kind of disappointed in this one. Tombstone, what are you doing?
How could you?
You betray us like this?
Oh, you were my brother.
I loved you.
Going back a couple steps, I do remember. My dad was like, I was telling him how this podcast worked, and he was like, "Oh, well, like, do you like spit out the beer or something?" And I was like, "No,
Whoa.
Why would we do that?" And he's like, "Oh, well, like, the alcohol would change your perception of like as you got longer into the episode, you would be rating things differently." So I mean,
Right.
I don't think it really. This isn't wine tasting.
Well, and I think people. This is not the podcast for perfectly objective beer ratings.
No.
This is
No.
This is the beer podcast for people who like drinking beer.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess there haven't been too many episodes where I was so sloshed that I feel like I couldn't objectively rate stuff too. Like the dark beers, the evil twin towards the end was sort of like that, and the dark beers episode was a little bit like that. But so far, I feel like I'm still being pretty objective towards these beers.
Even though, I mean, this podcast only takes us 2 hours, so it's like I don't find myself drunk by the end. I find myself drunk an hour afterwards. But while I'm in front of a mic, I feel like I'm relatively objective.
Mm-hmm. This is at best a 60 for me.
I think I'll agree with that. Maybe I'm a little more impressionable. But yeah, I'd also go with a 60.
I'm almost tempted to rate it higher.
Because you're an asshole.
Because I
Gotta
just
be different.
I have to be the contrarian. I want to give it a 65, but I don't know.
That's fine. You can rate it a 65
if you feel like
I'm trying to think of our scale.
Oh yeah, do we have
How I would rate this?
The scale?
Because as just a dark beer, I think I kind of like this.
I mean,
but there's just not a lot going on.
So 40 is the dividing range.
Right.
50 is, why not? 60 is 2 off. 70 is 1 off. 80 is
2 off. Yeah, 60. I'll give it a 60.
It's just so nondescript.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does it do that you have not had better in 5 other beers?
It really is just a stout. I saw Tombstone, and I have some brand association with Tombstone. I saw Imperial Stout and got kind of excited, and then I saw it with coffee, and I was like, oh, man, big, heavy coffee stout. I could get behind that, and then kind of one note. You guys done? Jesus Christ!
Well, I'm done.
Did you give me like half this can?
No, this is a.
She's a big one.
She's a big one.
16
ounce can. So I gave us all equal amounts. That's pretty sure.
Fucking then Jeremy just chugs it. Well,
I mean, we were
you
talking.
guys want to just hang out for half an hour while I finish this?
I'll just go to the bathroom really quick.
Go to the bath. Go grocery shopping.
Okay. See, beer back.
Beer right back.
God damn, he had the opportunity and he didn't. Jesus.
It's surprising with it being so kind of. I don't want to just harp on it being bland, but there's really just not much to it, and I feel myself like drinking it and feeling like it's like taxing drinking it almost.
Really? I don't get that. I drank it really fast because there was nothing there. I just drank it. It was like water almost.
I feel myself going slow through it. Weirdly because of the alcohol, but then it's like you don't really get the alcohol, especially with the cigar. Mm-hmm. I think without the cigar, you can taste the alcohol. I think that's right up front. But with a cigar, it's so muted, you don't get it. But
I think I am at the point, though, where I'm going to probably stop smoking a cigar just because...
it's a lot of a lot.
Yeah, I'm starting to get, like... There's a point where I stop enjoying tobacco.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it hits me really soon, so I don't want to, be a wimp, but I'd rather not have, like, a headache throughout the whole rest of this episode, so... But I will try, like... It's been in my mouth, like, the taste is still in my mouth, so I guess I can kind of objectively or unobjectively rate beer, as weird as it sounds. But I will say, though, this is the most, like, relaxing episode I've been a part on.
It's very serene.
Yeah, like, I know we're outside, and there's probably all this, like, background noise. I don't sound great. I'm definitely having a great time still, just because I'm just, like, having a smoke and a beer with my friends. Like, ooh. Can't ask for more.
And the nightcap.
No.
And the mystery. But next up is...
This is oak-aged vanilla worldwide stout. Yep. From the infamous Dogfish Head. This is the first time we've had a Dogfish Head brew on the podcast, I believe.
Oh, wow. And it was
surprising. Because
wasn't a 75 or a 90, right?
Yeah.
Minute.
Oh, no. Yeah, we had the...
Do we have a 60-minute?
No, we had the weird one.
75. That was a mystery.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, I had the privilege to get that one on tap recently, and I was
75 on tap.
Yeah.
You lucky dog.
Where the fuck did you get 75 on tap?
Hops on Birch.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like having a chat with my friends, and I was like, oh my god, a 75-minute, and so I got one, and I was like enjoying the hell out of this beer. I was just going like, oh man, this beer, and then they were all giving me weird looks because
you were like, well, you wouldn't get it, on the podcast.
All
exactly.
Right. Dogfish.
Cheers. Oh my god, I didn't even drink it. Just that smell.
This one's
Oh wow.
But that aftertaste.
That aftertaste is incredible.
You know how we were talking about those evil twin beers as being like, oh, this is like an 11 or 12, and then it's a 20. This, you get every single percent of alcohol.
It
is all there.
What percent is this?
This is...
If you had to guess, Jeremy,
Yeah.
15.
you're pretty close.
You're 17.5.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you taste all of that, right?
Yeah, that's
It's very harsh.
kind of wrinkles your nose like whiskey does.
Yeah.
But man,
It's been a while since I've had a puff of my cigar, so I'm gonna try it again after that.
I will say this beer has 3 phases, very distinct phases,
holy
right?
crap, yeah.
Going down is like smooth, chocolatey rich, and then just bam! You get 17.5% ABV, really strong, and then the aftertaste is quite vanilla-y, I will say.
Right.
And oaky. It's almost too strong on the 17.5%. There's
a
nothing
lot.
there.
It induces the same like facial features that drinking a shot of liquor induces in me. But the aftertaste, like that really nice, like vanilla, creamy. Like,
Oh God, it's so good,
yeah,
right?
it's so worth it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you're saying it's worth it to power through part of the beer to get to another part of the beer?
I mean,
that's unfortunate,
that's
right?
how liquor works. So, I mean, like
this is not liquor, though. This is
liquor,
beer.
yeah. Okay, but yeah, I'm more used to that paradigm than most other people. But usually it's the nice like aged bourbon flavor that Sean was talking about, and then swallowing it is like a chore. This is almost inverse.
I'm trying really hard to light this cigar.
God, that aftertaste is so good.
Yeah, it's a weird. I don't know how to rate this one because there's definitely two parts.
It's hills and valleys, right? You sort of want to rate it based off of the aftertaste and be like, man, it's so good. It's got such a strong finish, but then you have to fight through this super strong boozy flavor to get there.
Oh, with the cigar though. Holy shit! Now that I finally got this going.
Oh,
because that like completely cuts that alcohol.
All right, you got me. I gotta get my cigar relit for that.
I know I just said I wasn't, but now I have to because
that's a boozy beer with or without a cigar, but the cigar really cuts the alcohol. I don't. Did I turn into a pussy or something? Because I've had a full one of these before and was like, oh my god, this is fantastic.
I don't know. The cigar isn't really doing it.
No. I would love it if this asshole would stop driving by. Doesn't he know that we're fucking recording?
You know, he probably landed his plane at some point and then got in his muscle car, and then with or without a cigar, it's still the same effect in that there's the whole 17% of ABV, and then you get a nice, nice glide down into vanilla and smooth, chocolatey.
I don't think this cigar tricks me into thinking this is any less than 17%.
Yeah.
But I find that it rounds those edges a little bit. It kind of smooths this beer out a little bit. But it really does turn it into like chocolatey front end, boozy middle, vanilla back end, without these like harsh.
Yeah, I agree. This is an excellent cigar beer.
Yeah.
It's a good beer regardless, but it sort of does sort of mellow out the entire experience a little bit.
I would actually, to be contrarian, I would rather prefer to drink this without a cigar.
Oh, okay.
To most people, the 17% is kind of a big negative. I don't mind it as much. When I'm drinking a beer, it's a downside for sure, but it's not that big of a downside. But yeah, I'd really want this one on its own, and probably one for the night. But
this is definitely a 120-minute kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster for sure.
This is not a sixth beer. This is a first and last beer.
Yeah.
I agree with Sean. Given a cigar, I would give this like an 85. This is an excellent beer with a cigar. Without the cigar, I feel like it's 2 peaks and valleys.
Okay.
For me. And I would give it trending more towards a 75 or a 70.
Wow.
I was thinking 70.
As I don't know. That puts me in a rough situation. I was thinking 80.
Take the 80.
Take the 80, man.
Okay.
Without the cigar?
Without the cigar.
All right. Let's just go with a solid 75 then.
I like it.
Oh, but I'm really enjoying this one.
It's a good beer.
I was kind of worried about this beer being too KBS-y, kind of samey, but it does a lot of the stuff that KBS doesn't do. It's got a lot of the notes at the back end that KBS doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely different enough.
And now you really like KBS, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just worried that it would be a Dogfish Head imitation of KBS, but it's not at all.
Good beer. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with some brewing news and then on to our mystery beers for the evening. Stay tuned. This is Be Right Back, the Lounge Beer Podcast.
Welcome back to Be Right Back, the Lounge Beer Podcast. We've had 6 beers relating to cigars. Jeremy, you want to kick us off with your top 2 cigar beers? If you could have 2 beers out of the 6 with a cigar.
As much as I liked the calling with the double IPA, I believe. As contrarian as that was, and as much as I said this really juxtaposes the cigar, yada yada. And if I'm thinking purely cigar beers, I'm gonna have to go with the Worldwide Stout as number 1. Just what a monster of a beer, especially with the cigar. I know I didn't smoke that much of my cigar with it, and I kind of said prefer it without it, but I just enjoy it so much that it'd be great with a cigar. And then in second place, probably the Dank wood.
Oh, the Dank wood. Yeah.
Just to hit upon that, this is kind of unique with a cigar, and it kind of breaks away from the traditionalist dark beer association with cigar.
That's great.
Beer.
Sean?
I think my first is Dankwood. That was excellent and had a good contrast between the beer and the cigar. Next up, I'm going to give it the Bulletproof because that was a fantastic bourbon barrel aged beer. Went perfectly with the cigar.
Perfectly. I give the Bulletproof first place, followed by the Worldwide.
Okay.
So if you're going to have a beer with a cigar, I would recommend either Dogfish Head's Worldwide, Odell's Bulletproof, or Founder's Dank.
Yeah.
Dank wood. Yeah.
And that Bulletproof, it wasn't in my, top 2, but that's a damn good choice.
Yeah.
I
same for me with the Dank wood.
Yeah.
That's a damn good beer. Yeah. So on to brewing news. Sean,
I have a couple of brief pieces.
Got some Fruit of the Loom pieces.
Funny you should mention that.
Oh, no.
Fruit, not underwear.
Okay.
A article published by Fox News. I don't know why. New beer will quench your thirst and develop your film. Dogfish Head has released a beer called Super 8, named after the camera, the Kodak.
Like the film.
Right, yeah. Kodak film.
Yeah.
Dogfish Head Craft Brewery in Delaware created its Super 8 beer after a conversation with people at Kodak, the upstate New York technology company most famous for its photographic roots. Dogfish learned from Kodak that heightened levels of acidity and vitamin C in certain beers could make them a processing agent for film. That inspired the brewery to design such a beer. Kodak helped by testing it. Dogfish founder Sam Calagione says he'll document his summer travels on Super 8 film that will be developed in Super 8 beer and turned into a short film. The beer, made with pear, mango, berries, kiwi, quinoa, and salt, is set for national distribution next month.
Quinoa?
That's the weird one, isn't it? It's all fruity, typical beer ingredients, and then quinoa, and you're like, whoa.
Huh.
It sounds good. I mean, a mango, pear, berries, kiwi. Sounds good.
Yeah, that. I mean, I think they're like 10 years behind the draw on this one, because you can't really go to a place. You can't really go to like just Walmart or whatever to like process your film that you've taken.
Right.
And usually it's like, oh, I forgot what it was, but like you can process film with like orange juice and like bleach and a garbage bag if you really wanted to, or you could pay someone to do it professionally. But regardless, this is a really interesting criteria under which to brew a beer, and that you can process film with it.
Little silly, right?
Yeah, but I can't wait to try it just to see what the hell comes up out of this challenge, I guess.
Right, exactly. Dogfish Head is known for making silly shit, and if nothing else, even though it's not named for the named after the Minute IPAs, it's just another number beer from Dogfish Head that we can add into our 60, 90, 120, 75, 61, and now Super 8.
Yeah. Super 8.
Six-pack. That completes the six-pack.
Yeah.
So,
that's the first one. Beautiful. If I was the founder of Dogfish Head, and I had a piss load of money, and I enjoyed photography,
fuck it.
Hey, fuck it, dude. Yeah.
Next up, Samuel Adams is naming a new Belgian Brut IPA in honor of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
New Belgium?
Sam Adams.
What?
Sam Adams. It's part of the company's annual contribution to the Pink Boots Society, a nonprofit for women in the brewing industry. According to the Boston Globe, the collab was inspired by International Women's Day, which was earlier this month. This comes from Mashable.com. The new brew is named for Ginsburg's iconic response to the question, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court?
Never.
When there are 9, the justice quipped, an answer that inspired countless pins, T-shirts, posters, and now a beer. This says, according to Sam Adams' event page for the, quote, When There Are 9 launch. That's the name of the beer, is When There Are 9.
Oh, okay.
The company wanted to, quote, name it Brute Bader Ginsburg.
They should have. They should have.
It says, but their legal team, quote, dissented.
That's
so
good.
I liked Brute Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah, that's a good name.
The Sam Adams Taproom in Boston is launching When There Are 9 on March 29th with a plank contest, a nod to the 86-year-old justice's rigorous workout routines. Proceeds from the event will be donated to the Pink Boots Society and the ACLU's Women's Rights Project. It will be an opportunity to chug in the name of equality.
Damn. That's good.
Thank you, Mashable.com.
This is a little hearsay, but I was in the Rickety Cricket yesterday.
Oh,
and
whoa.
Well,
hot off the presses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just a funny story. I tried to buy a Mr. Beerbato, which is one of their newest releases. They're coming out with a newer one. I don't know the name. I forgot. The poster was there, but I didn't look at it. You can no longer buy a Mr. Beerbato shirt unless you are a size small or a size extra large, because they are out of production.
Well.
And I thought that was the saddest thing, because I really wanted one of those.
Yeah. That was a cool poster. They do some good art design.
I forget the name of the artist, but the guy who does it for most of their stuff is a genius.
Yeah. Looks great.
Yeah.
All of their stuff, all their designs look fantastic.
So if you're a size small or an extra large, you can still buy a Mr. Beerbato shirt.
Just come on down to Flagstaff.
Yeah. Maybe their Kingman Taproom has more shirts there, but what a shame for the medium to large sized folks. Anyway, Nick.
In other colloquial beer news, Sean and I went to
I forgot.
Zion Brewing Company, or Zion Brew House.
Zion Brewing Company, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
In Springdale, Utah.
Just outside Zion National Park. And it was all right.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. In line with Utah state law, none of their beers were seemingly above 4%.
They were some low alcohol beers, and you know what as we discuss later, I really think that's less to do with Utah state law and more to do with. I almost feel like it's a cultural thing in Utah to have lower alcohol beers, just because I know like Wasatch has some higher alcohol beers. As you and I both commented on, Nick, it was like we drank there. I think I drank about 5 beers there and felt fine leaving. It wasn't, none of them could have been higher than 5% or so. Good beers.
They had a good tap room, though.
Cool place.
Yeah.
And literally just over the border of the national park. So if you're in Zion, you want a good beer, head over to Zion Brewing Company. They got some good stuff. I particularly liked their juicy IPA. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
You liked their pomegranate sour?
It was just like, I think you described it as like weedy.
Mm-hmm.
Enough of a beer to not be. Interestingly enough, there was no hops in that beer. And yet it maintained enough of a beer flavor to taste like a beer.
Yeah, I think I described it as a beery flavor. It was a beery sour, where I feel like a lot of sours kind of lose the beer. It's almost just, as you call it, a soda pop. It's just kind of a sweet, sour flavor, and there's not really a lot of beer to it.
Yeah.
This, I thought, had a good balance of beer and then a sour flavor. Interestingly, as you said, with no hops. So that was good on them.
All right, ending the beer news segment, heading into our final segment, the mystery beers.
Now, should Jeremy and I have cigars lit for this? Does it matter?
Well, you can decide after your first sip. How about that?
Okay.
I like it.
Eyes closed.
Sounds like a beer.
Ha ha, Sean. Oh my God.
Will it ever get old? It already has.
I wouldn't mind hearing that joke for the rest of my life, though. Let's be real. It's a dad joke. Sean has big dad energy.
Is that big energy or is that big dad energy?
I'll let the folks at home decide.
It's a little like Biggie Smalls energy.
Yeah.
Eyes open.
Whoa!
That's a beer.
Doesn't look like a cigar beer.
Well,
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. Oh, I know what this is. Just by the smell.
I kind of figured.
But can I remember what it is?
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say I've never had this before. Like most things on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, this is what we're doing. We're developing your palate as we go.
Yeah.
It's the whole point of the podcast.
Yeah.
What was to get Jeremy to drink.
Yeah. This is, we just want to hang out with you and drink.
I'm honored.
Yeah. But we got to put you on stage to do it.
That's true.
Mm.
I wouldn't take I wouldn't take a puff of cigar after this.
Mm.
It's just kind of one of those.
I agree.
It tastes like a nitro milk candy something. I really don't know.
Would you say it tastes like white chocolate?
Yes.
I get a little like marshmallow, little kind of vanilla flavor out of that.
Mm.
This is
I've had this beer before, and now I'm struggling to remember what it is. But I recognize it just off the scent.
I think I've had this beer 2 or 3 times off of a tap. And I think that it is no better out of a tap than it is out of the vessel in which I bought it in. So I bought this beer thinking that it would be kind of a deviation from the cigar beer sort of section, but this is a little too far outside of it.
I wouldn't drink this and go, you know what this needs? Cigar.
I'd be willing to go a step further and say if this was in the main 6, I would be like, this would be a little disgusting to have with a cigar, if I'm honest, because they wouldn't mix well in my mouth.
Okay.
But on its own, I'm kind of impressed with how much it's letting my sweetness tolerance go wild. It tastes a little bit like candy.
It does
in some regard.
It really, to me, I get marshmallow.
Yeah,
more than anything.
I'd say I think your or your white chocolate analogy was for me really hitting the nail on the head. But I have no idea how they're doing that in a beer. So
All right, ABV.
I was thinking of 5.
I like a 5.
right.
Let me.
Oh no, it's not a 5, but I'm gonna stick with it.
All right. So Jeremy's guess is 5.
It's so rare to have a beer below a 5.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to say a 6, but I just don't get a 6 out of that. But fuck it, 6.
Jeremy gets a point.
Oh,
Whoa!
It's 4.7.
God
Oh
damn
my
it!
gosh! Seems like forever since I got a point.
I think you got a point last episode.
Oh.
I think you...
I was bartending last episode. So
Okay, never mind. All right, IBU.
Nothing. Fuck.
This is sort of the gimme.
15.
that's what I was thinking. But I'm gonna pull a Sean and say a 20.
16.
Oh! How about that?
Because you went first, Sean.
We're even now.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't mind.
This is a good beer.
Yeah,
I could drink a lot of this.
I don't love it.
It's a good beer. I wouldn't drink a lot of it because it's too sweet.
Maybe I'm rating it higher because we just came from dark beer city.
This is nicely refreshing.
Oh, yeah.
After our 6-pack, I could relax with one of these.
This is definitely a cool down beer if you're
Yeah.
if you're coming off of that stouty flavor. It's definitely mixes up the old taste buds.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sean.
Oh, is it to me?
Brewer. Yes.
Brewer?
Yes.
Can I get extra points for the beer? I think this is White Chocolate Ale by Sonoran.
Okay.
This is gonna sound stupid, but I guess modern times because when
I could see that.
Mhm.
when they do a sweet beer, I like it, and I like this one. So
Yeah.
Sean wins.
Yeah.
It's a white chocolate from Sonoran.
It's got a monkey on the bottle, right?
That's right.
the more
Oh, bomber. That's why we got so much.
the more worldly.
I've never seen a bomber of this.
You know,
Really?
this was
Yeah.
this was the first episode I didn't think about like the metadata where I was like, oh, I have more than 6 ounces. This must be a bomber. Or oh, that was a bottle cap I heard. I was just tasting it. So
Yeah.
but regardless, I wouldn't have gotten it anyway.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I like this better than previous times that I've had this beer.
And like I said, I think in the context of the beers we've already had, it kind of stands strong.
Right.
You get a lot of that white chocolate flavor.
Oh, yeah.
It's really strongly white chocolate, more than anything else.
Yeah. As I said before, the dominant note to me is almost like a vanilla marshmallow
Yeah.
more than white chocolate. But there it is. And I think I've only had this beer 2 or 3 times. But what a distinctive flavor. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a beer that tastes quite like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is so unique to anything, I've had, and I guess I put it in the modern times thing just because they do.
I could so see this
Oh,
beer
yeah.
being
That
done by modern
sweetness thing,
times,
but, like,
that's a great guess.
I at some point in my life I'm gonna have to buy this one again
Oh, yeah.
and kind of keep it around for that special occasion. But
and it's pretty cheap.
Oh, yeah.
By comparison to most other beers in its category, it's very affordable. I would recommend this beer in that scenario. Yeah,
If you had to rate it, Nick.
I'm kind of quaffling between a 65 and a 70.
I was going to say 65.
oh, I was leaning.
85.
No, I
90 Soul Ascension 100.
I was leaning towards more the 75, but yours, your 70 makes more sense to me. But like,
Then we'll
yeah.
rate it a 70.
Yeah.
Amongst us,
Sure.
yeah, it's really quite good.
This is the only beer I know from these guys.
Right. I think they sort of half outsource their beer, like Evil Twin. I looked them up previously, and I think they do a lot of beers in collaboration with other brewers in Arizona. This is sort of their like flagship beer, is the white chocolate. God, it's got such a great smell.
Yeah.
It's like a candle. And that could be interpreted badly, but it is really very strongly.
That is an unmistakable nose. Like, I have had few beers that get this kind of vanilla flavor, but I have never smelled a beer like this. You hit the nail on the head. This is like it's smelling a vanilla candle.
When I first tasted it, and I guess also smelled it, I was like very firm on the idea that I've never had this one before. Like, goddamn. And they really go hard on that vanilla, maybe like white chocolate flavor that like, candle like. You know, get rid of the waxiness out of a candle, and this is sort of that flavor, that smell, that flavor of.
And I don't want to just hijack Nick's comment from earlier, but this really is a very good wind down. Is that Nick? Is that you?
Something.
Somebody said this was a very good wind down beer after these previous ones, and I couldn't agree more. Those last ones were kind of laborious for me to finish, and this is like, refreshing,
light and airy.
Yeah.
I think both of us had this beer at State Bar.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Right. Another R.I.P. Sort of a local tap room, if you will, in Flagstaff. I think it fits that context very well. You come to that tap room after work, class, or whatever. This is a very good beer to kind of wind down the day.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like a beer that you could give to a kid. Not in a bad way.
We don't condone underage drinking
in
on
the
this
good
podcast.
way of giving beer to kids. Like an ice cream truck.
But this is, if I knew someone who knew nothing about beer beyond like Bud Light and they hated it, I'd give one of these to them, and so they would have that realization of beer can taste like this. Because
exactly.
It's so sweet.
It subverts your expectations of what beer is.
Yeah, and it's...
As a little aside, I gave my sister, who doesn't like beer at all. She hates beer.
And she's above the age of 21.
She
older than
she's
you.
not 8 years old. I gave her a sip of KBS. If you had to guess what my sister thought about KBS, what would you think?
She likes wine, right?
She likes sweet wines, yeah. She likes white, she likes rosé.
She threw up then.
And that's exactly. I gave it to her. Anytime, especially when I lived with her, when I was 21, I would get these crazy. I would get 1 minute, and I'd be like, "Mary, try this," and she'd try and go, "Ugh, God." I'm like, "You want a second sip?" And she goes, "No." She liked KBS.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, I don't think I would have a whole bottle of this. I could enjoy this.
Yeah.
I found that very surprising. Mary, who does not like bourbon and does not like beer, found some enjoyment out of KBS. Where the first time I had a KBS, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Who makes beer like this?
Yeah.
Why?
That reminds me, I was at this place, and I was like, it was 4th of July or something along those lines, and it was like, "Here, try KBS," and it was the first KBS I had, and it was with a cigar, and even then I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, Christ,
this is a beer, quote unquote. Oh man! But I guess now it's sort of I'm used to it.
Yeah, it's funny how your tastes mutate over time, because it was. As I've said before, a torpedo used to be the most hoppy beer I could possibly stand. And now it's a nice, refreshing, lightly hopped IPA. and at one time it was like, oh my God, people drink this? I'm lucky to finish one of these.
Yeah.
And people drink a 6-pack of this?
Second mystery beer, eyes closed.
Eyes closed.
Sean won the last one, right?
Yeah.
2 for 3.
You know what they say. It sounds like a beer. Got him.
Open.
Wow. It's dark.
That's a dark beer.
Last beer, gents. It's okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, ooh. What a peculiar smell. Did I just drink black coffee?
Oh my god!
Okay, full stop. This is the most, like, we put chili peppers kind of beer in this.
Chili peppers?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But for the most part, every time that, like, a brewer has been, hey, we put chili peppers in this thing, I've kind of been like,
Really?
like, whatever. That just might just be, like, a thing that you're telling me, and it's, like, psychosomatic, and this one, yeah, I can kind of see
I
it.
don't get chili peppers. I get a huge coffee hit, though.
Oh. That kind of takes a back seat for me. Oh,
I agree, Nick. I think this is a cigar beer.
Yeah.
I want to try to get the IBU and ABV before
yeah, okay.
Boozy. Get boozy.
Let me take another sip.
I mean, no alcohol at all. 3%.
See, I got a front load of the chili pepper flavor, then it drops off immediately into coffee, and then a slight boozy aftertaste. Yeah. Can I see some of your stogie now that I don't want to relight mine because mine is like trying to like.
Mine's a little low lit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Should we go immediately into ratings? Because I'd like to try this with a cigar, but I want to retain my palate. ABV?
I'm gonna guess like 14 on this one.
It's high, isn't it?
But not as high as some of the ones I've had before.
I'm gonna say.
Okay, I feel like having like some like 20% or whatever, like the last episode,
Yeah.
kind of threw me off.
Yeah.
Here.
This is hard.
But I think 14% for me is like a nice middle ground.
Sometimes I try this and I'm like, oh, that's like 10%, and then a second later I'm like, no, that's 20%, and then it's like, no, that's 10%. I'm gonna call that 11.
Jeremy, what did you say? 13 or 14? 14. This is 13
Oh.
ABV. So no points, but Jeremy's closer.
Jeremy nailed it.
IBU.
IBU is tricky.
It's kind of one of those things where like a dark beer kind of like throws the whole IBU scale aside and for another thing, but like it's kind of in that like 25 range for me.
I get kind of a sharp, like middle of the tongue bitterness, and I can't tell.
Oh, really?
Sometimes that's my tongue lying to me, and like I just perceive a bitterness where there's not one, and sometimes that's being dead on. I'm gonna call that a 60.
I said 25.
65.
Oh, hey, how about that?
Wow. Man.
There's going to be 2 rounds to this.
Oh, shit.
2 more rounds. There's Brewer, which we can do last. But then there's defining characteristic.
I gotta say coffee.
I'm gonna say chili pepper.
You both get a point.
Oh, man. That's funny.
That's great. Because usually, like, when I make these kind of guesses, it's like one or the other. But to be both.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Because that's funny, because to me, it's all coffee. Like,
And for me, it's mostly chili.
Yeah. Combined, we have one palate.
Brewer.
Who the fuck would make a beer like this? Judging by the bottle opener that you have, I'm assuming came in a bottle.
You would be correct.
My first inclination is tastes a little like Zocavesa by Stone, but I really there's not enough like cinnamon to this.
Oh.
It has like a Mexican hot chocolate. Who the hell makes stouts? I'm like, if it's IPAs, I've got a dozen breweries on like in my Rolodex. But
Right.
For me, it's like we came off of this episode, but I'm like, this is another one of those evil twins. Like
it's high alcohol enough.
Those weird oddball, like you wouldn't think evil twin would do it, but they do it. Stouts.
So you guess an evil twin?
I don't know. for like my lack of knowledge on these brewers, like kind of have to go Evil Twin just because that's the one I can name that has made this many stouts now. But
I think that's a good guess that this tastes like something they'd make. I'm gonna say Stone just because I don't have it. I can't think of anybody else.
This beer is a collaboration.
Oh, between Stone and Evil Twin.
Between Prairie,
No,
Oklahoma, and
No!
Evil Twin.
asshole.
This is Bible Belt
God
2018.
oh man, that's
Jesus.
wow.
Jeremy with the point.
Jeremy with the point.
man.
Does that mean Jeremy wins or that you're tied?
I forget the points.
You won the
there.
first round.
I got 2 in the first round. Did I get 1 this round? Yeah, I got IBU'd.
Yeah.
So I got
Jeremy
3.
wins this round,
Yeah.
and you won the last round, so you're tied.
No, I got 3 points.
Oh, in the last round? Oh, total.
I
okay.
got 3 points total.
Congratulations.
I don't want to be a dick.
It's the points don't matter, and the
The rules are made up, and the points don't matter.
yeah, there you go.
What a beer.
Thoroughly enjoy this one, like cigar beer or not. Like, what a great dark beer.
Damn, it's good. I love Prairie.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they make great beers, and I have sort of been disappointed in anything other than a sour from them.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first beer that I've had that is excellent outside of a sour.
Yeah, we had like one of their pale ales and their farmhouse ale and stuff,
Yeah.
and they were okay, but not fantastic. Their sours are out of this
Vape
world.
Tricks.
Yeah,
Damn.
they know their sours.
Yeah.
This is good for such a dark beer and from Prairie, and you can taste the Evil Twin.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
definitely.
Sean, what would you rate it?
I'd give this a 70.
Yeah, this is pretty firmly 70 for me. Just a solid beer, but
Yeah.
70.
70.
What a consistent episode. Every beer has been between a 65 and an 80.
No outright killers,
Yeah.
but no sleepers, right?
Consistent high. I mean, I think for us, a 70 is a good beer.
Yeah.
That's-
I would have this beer several times.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
If I ran into this beer at a bar, I'd get it
In
like
an
first
instant.
try.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, this is a very rare beer.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't run into this beer at a bar first try. Especially because it's a collaboration.
Lucky to find it at a bottle shop, even. I mean,
In Arizona, right?
Prairie from Oklahoma,
Oklahoma? Yeah.
and Evil Twin from question mark.
From crowdsource.
Yeah. From Denmark, really, but
Yeah.
all over the place
Yeah.
in the U.S. What a weird collaboration. Who at either one of these breweries was like, you know what? We should talk to those guys from that other one
Yeah.
and make this beer.
Well, I don't know much about the Oklahoma one, but it definitely hits on that experimental flavor
Yeah.
that I have learned to expect from Evil Twin. So when I think about it, like a lot of the Evil Twin ones I've had in the other episode have been like, this is too much experimentation. So
Right. This reels it back in a little bit.
having a collab between Evil Twin and some other one that I'm assuming is a little more traditionalist.
Even Prairie makes some weird shit, but
they make some very weird shit.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
I think a little more what we're used to than an Evil Twin.
What a great beer to end on, especially on the cigar beer episode.
Yeah, no kidding.
Drinking this makes me want to have another puff of a cigar.
and then pass out.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Join us next time on Be Right Back Lounge Beer Podcast.
Drink responsibly.